Hello everyone, this is Theo. Today I'm going to review the iPad Pro 2020 from the perspective of an artist. I'm going to talk about the design, build quality, show you the drawing experience, and also talk about some things you should take note of before you get an iPad Pro for drawing. Design of the new iPad Pro 2020 is very similar to the previous model. This is the 12.9 inch and this is the 11 inch. So from the exterior, the only visible difference is actually the camera system. So now we have two cameras and a LiDAR system. And here it's just a single camera with the previous model. Other than that, the design looks essentially the same and the build quality is very solid. Now with this iPad Pro, I have not applied the screen protector yet, so you can see it's quite glossy. And this one here, it has a matte screen protector applied, so you can see as it reflects the light, there is this white haze that's happening. I'm going to talk more about the screen protector later on. Alright, so beneath the glass, there's the Apple A12Z processor, which is actually a variant of the A12X that's used in the previous model. In terms of performance, such as speed, whether or not there's any lag when it comes to drawing, I did not notice any difference. So both this year's model and the previous model, they are blazingly fast. In fact, over the last 1.5 years that I have been using this iPad Pro, there wasn't any situation where I had to actually push that iPad Pro to its limit. So it's a very fast and powerful iPad Pro. Anyway, for the type of work that I do, such as digital illustrations like this or sketches like this, I usually do not use more than 20 or 30 layers. And my file sizes, the dimension is usually around A4 at 300 dpi or 4K resolution. So the file sizes usually hovers around 100 to 500 megabytes. So this iPad Pro and the previous iPad Pro definitely more than capable enough of handling even more complex illustrations. Another good thing about this year's iPad Pro is all the models now have 6 gigs of RAM compared to the previous model from 2018, where only the 1 terabyte storage model has 6 gigs of RAM. So this one that I have here, it actually only has 4 gigs of RAM. I haven't actually noticed any difference between having 6 gigs of RAM versus 4 gigs of RAM. When I draw, when I open a lot of applications, everything still feels very smooth. So it goes to say that Apple's optimization for RAM usage is just fantastic. Even for Procreate, there is no increase to the maximum number of layers you can create, even though there is now more RAM. So for 4K resolution, the maximum number of layers I can create here is 60, similar to the 2018 model. One of the main reasons why I decided to buy the smaller 11-inch iPad Pro this time around is because I want to see if there is any difference when it comes to the drawing experience of drawing on a smaller display versus a larger display. And I'm very happy to say that there is not much difference. It's still very satisfying to draw on either display. I was able to get used to the smaller display size very quickly within a day or two. Let me just do a very quick size comparison. So the 12.9 inch iPad Pro, you can see it's bigger, about 1.5 inches or 1 inch on on this side and this side. So if it's like this, you get this much more area. When compared to an actual sketchbook, which I have here. So this is an A5 size sketchbook. Let me just put this to the top so you can see the difference in size. So the iPad Pro 11 inch has about an extra inch here and about half an inch here. So this display is actually larger compared to an A5 size sketchbook. So it's still a very comfortable size to draw on. And if you think you may be missing out by not getting the larger display, I'm going to tell you that you are not going to miss out a lot. The more noticeable difference between the 11-inch versus the 12.9 inch is this is significantly lighter. This is just 473 grams. This is 643 grams. So that's not including the case which you may add to your iPad Pro. So here I have a slim case. And once you add the case, it's going to be even heavier. So whenever I bring this iPad Pro outdoors to sketch, I will always find somewhere to sit down and put this either on my lap or on a table to draw. But with the smaller 11-inch iPad Pro, I can actually hold it like this. Even if you add a case, it's not going to be as heavy compared to this. So even if you add a case, it's still going to be lighter. And for me, I can actually hold it like this with one arm and draw for a much longer time compared to holding this iPad Pro like this. I'll just get tired maybe in under 30 seconds. It's that heavy. So which size should you get? Well, you just have to look at your current workflow. Do you see yourself going outdoors to draw a lot? Or have you been going outdoors to draw a lot? If so, I recommend the 11-inch because you can actually stand and draw while holding the iPad. But with the 12.9 inch, you're going to have to find some surface to put that iPad Pro on. And now let's talk about the Apple Pencil. This is sold separately. This is expensive. This is $129, and that's quite expensive for a stylus. But if you are getting an iPad Pro for drawing, this is the best stylus for drawing. You shouldn't waste money on other brands of stylus. The Apple Pencil has a flat side here that allows you to attach magnetically to the side of the iPad Pro for charging and also for pairing. So once the iPad Pro is paired with the Apple Pencil, you can start using it. And the battery life has been terrific. Over the last 1.5 years that I've been using this, it can last for a few hours. And since I always have the Apple Pencil on the side of the iPad Pro, it's always charged up. So I never run out of battery life. Alright, let me talk about the drawing experience while I draw something. So I'm going to use this app called Procreate. Let me create a new canvas, screen size. I don't know the exact resolution of this iPad Pro. You can read up on all the specs at Apple's website. So let me just create a new layer for the line art, choose a brush. Now, one thing about drawing apps on the 11-inch is all the user interface elements such as the menu bar, the tools, the palettes, they are similar in size compared to the larger 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which means you get a smaller area to draw on. But the thing is, most of the drawing apps, they have been optimized and designed to really make full use of the space. So as I start drawing, the layers palette will just disappear to give you more space to draw on. So that's why the drawing experience is not very different compared to drawing on the bigger iPad Pro. Right, let me just draw something really quickly. So the Apple Pencil has fantastic sensitivity for the pressure. It's very accurate. You can use very light pressure to get those really thin lines. Press down light and you can draw those thin lines very easily. And press down harder, you can get the thick lines. Drawing on the glass surface feels quite smooth. It does take some time to get used to drawing on glass. If you prefer more texture, you can actually get one of those matte screen protectors. I'll talk more about matte screen protectors later on. So the iPad Pro actually has a laminated display. There is no gap between the glass surface and the actual LCD screen beneath. So when you're drawing, it really looks like the lines, they are appearing directly beneath the Apple Pencil. So what this means is it really feels like you are drawing on the surface of the display. There is no parallax, and overall drawing experience, it's very smooth. There is no lag. Everything is very responsive. The iPad Pro is really responsive, so this is great for quick sketches, quick drawings. There is no lag whatsoever. If you want to draw slower, if you are the type of artist who likes to draw details, then maybe you can consider getting the matte screen protector, which gives you additional texture so that you can work a bit slower. You can have a bit more control over your lines, the speed at which you're drawing. Because drawing on glass, sometimes it still feels a bit too smooth for me. It will definitely take more time for me to get used to. But the downside of using a matte screen protector is the white haze that you saw earlier. And also it will affect the colors and the contrast. So far so good. I don't see any stray strokes, so palm rejection works really well. By the way, Apple Pencil also supports tilt sensitivity. I think I drew this a bit too long, so let me just change to the eraser. There is actually a shortcut here that you can tap to change to the eraser, and you can erase and double tap again to switch it back. Some drawing software will allow you to configure the double tap function, but some will not. So for Procreate, it seems like the double tap is fixed to switching between pen and eraser. And now let's do some coloring. So I'm using a textured brush to color this. There is no lag even when using really big textured brushes for drawing. So the iPad Pro really is very powerful. But having said that, even with the iPad Air 3, that's also a very capable tablet for drawing. So the main difference between the iPad Pro and the iPad Air 3 comes down to the processor, the RAM, and of course the design. The iPad Pro uses the second generation Apple Pencil, while the iPad Air 3 uses the first gen, where you have to charge the Apple Pencil by plugging it to the charging port of the iPad Pro. And now let's paint the background. So as you can see, this is a very big textured brush. It's still very responsive. With the 11-inch, I can actually hold it like this with my hand. With the 12.9-inch, I have to hold it like this so that the iPad can rest on my forearm. So what's the difference? Well, if I hold it like this, I can hold the iPad Pro much higher, and sometimes it's more comfortable. And because this is a laminated display, tapping on the surface feels more solid. There is less of a hollow sound. Here's how it sounds like when tapping on the surface. You can create dots very easily by tapping on the display, and the dots, they also react to pressure, so you can tap harder to get the bigger dots and lightly to get the smaller dots. And again, this is very sensitive. I don't really like the color of this tank, so let me make this a bit darker. Let's add some shadows very quickly. Let me bring back some highlights here. Last thing I need to do is to draw some chains. So this is where the pressure sensitivity really helps again. So I can press down hard to draw these very thick lines, and I can zoom in very close to draw the thin chains. Of course, I can change the brush size to make it easier for me to draw the chains. I feel like I should make the chains brighter. One last thing I may want to do is to apply this fake watercolor texture to this piece of digital art to make it look less digital. So I'm using this pastel brush. It's a textured brush. So now let me zoom in to let you see the texture. So again, it's very fast to apply the texture. There's absolutely no lag at all. I just have to dial down the opacity to make it much lighter while retaining a bit of the texture. Okay, so now I think it looks great. My overall experience with the iPad Pro 2020 when it comes to drawing is fantastic. It feels very smooth, very fluid, and it's very intuitive to be drawing with the Apple Pencil, especially when it works so well. Palm rejection and pressure sensitivity work almost flawlessly. Now, the drawing experience is actually similar to the previous iPad Pro 2018. So if you have the previous model, there is absolutely no reason to upgrade. And if you are thinking of saving some money, you can actually consider getting the previous model if you can find discounted prices for the 2018 model. Or you can go to Apple's website and look at the refurbished store and see if you can find good prices over there. But having said that, the new iPad Pro 2020 comes with 128 gigs of storage right now, while the base model for the previous model only has 64 gigs. So you have to pay a bit more to upgrade that. Oh, speaking of storage, let me show you how you can get more storage. So if you do not want to pay extra money to get more storage, you can actually buy the extra storage through iCloud. The current retail price for the iPad Pro 11-inch with 128 gigs of storage is US $799, and the 12.9-inch is $999, so that's $200 more expensive. Now if you want to go with 256 gigs of storage, that's an extra $100 here, as well as here for the larger iPad Pro. But you can actually save some money by choosing the base model and buying iCloud storage for just $12 a year. That's $1 a month for 50 gigs of storage. So you can upgrade to more storage as and when you need. So it's $12 versus $100. So I think this is actually a much better value for money. And if you are working with Procreate, you can actually save the files. Let me show you how you can save this file. You can save this file through share the Procreate image, and you can save it onto the iCloud storage. So let me just save it to iCloud. Mine is the Wi-Fi model, by the way. It doesn't have LTE. So let's go and take a look at where that file is. on iCloud. So these are the files that I have saved from Procreate onto iCloud. And one thing you should take note here is you can actually see the icons of the artworks. Even in list view, you can see the icons. Now, if you save your files onto Google Drive or onto other cloud storage, you won't be able to see the icons, which is why I recommend getting iCloud versus other cloud storage like Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. The iPad Pro doesn't produce much heat when you are drawing, so you can use this for hours without feeling uncomfortable. And the battery life for this is really long. I've been using this for almost 2.5 hours and the battery life dropped, let me see, about 20%. So you can easily get up to maybe 8 or 10 hours if you use this indoors. If you use this outdoors with the auto brightness turned on, the brightness will be increased and it's going to drain more power, obviously. Not just that, it's also going to make the iPad much hotter to draw on. But if you're drawing indoors or under shade, the iPad is not going to heat up that much. Last few things I want to talk about: screen protector, case, and Applecare. So should you get a screen protector, as you can see, without the screen protector, the colors are more vibrant. But with the screen protector, you can see this white haze as it reflects the light, and this is quite irritating if you are going to work outdoors because light is everywhere outdoors. If you work indoors, it's actually still alright. And the advantage of screen protector is it feels nicer to draw on, and this doesn't attract fingerprints, while this is a fingerprint magnet. But even though it attracts a lot of fingerprint, the display still looks fantastic. I mean, the colors, they still look fantastic through the fingerprint screen. I actually don't have a recommendation as to whether or not you should or should not buy a matte screen protector, because there are people who like to draw on a nice so-called paper-like texture, but there are also people who just don't like how the colors look under the matte screen protector. So if you want to buy a case for your iPad Pro, I would highly recommend you get a case that protects all the sides of the iPad Pro. So this particular case is actually a magnetic flip case where it doesn't protect the sides. So I actually have dents on my iPad Pro. I cannot remember where I actually got those dents, but they are there. So if you really want to protect your iPad Pro, get those cases that protect the sides as well. And also make sure that it allows for Apple Pencil to charge on the side here. So some cases, they cover everything and there's no way for you to charge the Apple Pencil. So make sure it can charge the Apple Pencil. And it would be good to have a flip case because it's going to protect your screen. So the last thing I want to talk about is Applecare. So for an extra US $129, you can get an additional year of hardware coverage and also accidental damage coverage. If you are going to use your iPad Pro indoors, I'm not sure if this is actually worth the money. But if you want to use your iPad Pro outdoors, maybe it's more worth the money. Anyway, it's really a personal preference as to whether or not you want to get additional warranty coverage. Based on my personal experience of all the iPads that I have so far, I've only had one time where my iPad Pro broke down. That's the model with the fingerprint sensor. It broke down just about a month after the 1-year warranty ended. That sucks. But for this iPad Pro from 2018, I bought Applecare for this and it has been working very well for more than 1.5 years. So I could have saved some money by not buying Applecare for this. I will be selling away this iPad Pro after this review, unfortunately at a loss. I just bought this to make this review for you guys and also to see whether or not I would feel comfortable drawing on a smaller display. And yeah, I got used to it really quickly. So you are really not missing out on anything if you want to save some money by getting the smaller iPad Pro. Okay, so this has been a very long video. Thanks for watching. I wanted to make this video as detailed as possible. And if you guys have any questions regarding the iPad Pro, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye!